So good afternoon to all. So yesterday class, we discussed about the cardiovascular system, how the blood is circulates, through the heart to the parts of the body. Okay, and today's class we will see about electrical conduction system of heart. Electrical conduction system of heart. Okay, so are you getting the figure? Are you getting visible the figure? Okay. So today we will see the electrical conduction system of heart. So generally we are saying in the last class we are saying that when the heart is contracted, it will be pumps the blood to the next chambers, and again there due to the contraction again it will sends to blood to the different parts of the body. Like that we are told in the previous class for the blood circulation. So how the heart will be contracted and how the heart will be relaxed. I mean, the heart chambers are contracted and how the heart chambers are dilated. It means relaxed. So that is because of there is one you can say a pacemaker. See here. So this figure shows the different electrical conduction system. Here we can say it is electrical conduction system. So generally uh, here we have a cyanoatrial node. This is this block color. So I think you are visible. You are getting visible. Cyanoatrial node. So this one is cyanoatrial node. It is nothing but a constructed with the excitation cells. It is nothing but excitation cells. Okay. So this one is called as cyanoatrial node or sinus node, and it is also called as pacemaker. So which is the responsible for the generation of the electrical impulses. So it is the most responsible for the generation of the electrical impulses. Okay, it generates the electrical impulses, and those electrical impulses, and this is situated where it is placed. So here we have, this is right atrium and this is left atrium, and downside this is the right ventricle and this is the left ventricle. There are four chambers in the heart. Okay. So coming to this cyanoatrial node is placed, where is the place of this cyanoatrial node? So it is the junction point. It is the junction of, it is the in between the junction of the atrium, right atrium, and what is this one? So what we say, this is superior vena cava. So from the superior vena cava, the blood will be collects into the right atrium. Okay, superior vena cava and the right atrium junction point, we have the cyanoatrial node. So this cyanoatrial node is placed at the junction of right atria and the superior vena cava. Okay, from there the cyanoatrial node, or you can call it as a pacemaker, or it is called as sinus node, sinus node or pacemaker. So generally, the general terms you can say it is a pacemaker. Okay, so it is able to produce electrical pulses and excite the heart. Okay, so it is capable of producing the electrical pulses, and those pulses will be travels by this arrow direction. See, so this arrow will be this arrow will indicates the pulse travel to the left atrium, and these pulses are excites the right atria. This is the right atria chamber, and this is the left atria chamber. The excitation pulses are the pulses are initiated by the cyanoatrial node. These impulses are sent to the atrias. Both are called as atrias, right atria and left atria. And due to that excitation pulses, these atria, right atria and left atria, both are excited. So, and due to that, there is a contraction of the chambers will be occurs. Contracts. Those two chambers will be contracts, and due to that, there is a pressure inside the chamber will be increases, and due to that, the cyanoatrial cyano the, due to that, the blood will be pumped into the right ventricle node. The blood will be pumped into the right ventricle node. Okay, because of the pulses initiated by the pacemaker, those pulses will be travel to right atrium, right atrium, and there these pulses will excite the or contracts the chamber. And similarly for the left atrium. Similarly for the left atrium, these pulses will travel to the left atrium, and due to that, these atriums will be makes a contraction, and these pulses will be also goes to the and travels to the atrioventricle node. This is another excitation node. So these pulses will travels to the atrioventricle node. Okay. The sinus node produces the excitation pulses, and those will be also travels to the atrioventricle node. So this atrioventricle node is in between the atrium and ventricles. It is in between the atrium and ventricles. That's why you can call it as atrioventricular node. Atrioventricle node. So this node will be excited by the sinus node, cyanoatrial node, and due to that, the pulses, excited pulses or electrical pulses will be travels. Excitation pulses will be travels through these channels. We can call it as a see here. So this is cyanoatrial node will connects to a bundle of his. It is this one is called as bundle of his. So this node will be connected to bundle of his, and the excitation pulses which are generated from the AV node, atrioventricle node, it will travels to the bundle of his, and this bundle of his is divided into two branches. These two branches, one is the left side branch and another one is the right side branch. See here these arrows. These arrows will indicate the travel of the impulses. how the pulses will be travels in which direction. So in this direction, through this right bundle branch, this is a, we said that bundle of ECE is having two branches. One is right side branch and another is the left side branch. The right side branch is called as right bundle branch and left side branch is called as left bundle branch. Left bundle branch. So the electrical pulses will travels through these bundle branches and reaches to ventricles, reaches to ventricles through Purkinje fibers. So these are called as these small branches. These small branches we can call it as a Purkinje fibers. Purkinje fibers. So for these fibers will be connected to the ventricles. So these fibers will be connected to ventricles. So this is the right ventricle and this is the left ventricle. So the conduction of the pulses or impulses will be travel through these branch bundles and it connects to the Purkinje fibers and these Purkinje fibers will connects to the ventricles. So when the signal will be travels through branches and Purkinje fibers and Purkinje fibers will give the electrical signal to ventricles because these are connected to ventricles and due to that the ventricle system, ventricles right ventricle and left ventricle both will be excited and there is a contraction of the ventricles will be occurs and due to that the blood will be pumped outside. The blood will be pumped outside and that is the blood will be travels to different parts of the body. So generally the heart rate is controlled by the contraction of the ventricles will cause to force the pumping of the blood to circulating systems. So in the last class we have seen from the ventricles, right ventricle and left ventricle will sends the blood to different parts of the body. From the right ventricle, the blood will be pumped to the lungs, and from the left ventricle, the blood will be pumped to different parts of the body, entire body. Okay, so that force will be generated at the ventricles, and the thickness of the left ventricle is different from the remaining three chambers and the thickness is more than it is when compared to other three chambers the thickness of left ventricle is higher or more because it should have from the left ventricle only the blood will be pumped to different parts so it should be have strong then only it will be sends the blood force to the body. Okay. Next, so I will show one. Are you getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is this figure shows the electrical system of the heart. So this yellow color is there. So it is a Cyanoatrial node, SA node. So from there, it will exits the pulses or produces the electrical pulses, and those electrical pulses will travels in this white color. Okay, white color. So from this SA node is present above the right atrium, and that it will pumps the signal to the atrium and as well to the, this is atrioventricle node. Atrioventricle AV node, you can say it is a AV node. This yellow one is known as AV node. Okay, the pulses which are generated at SA node will travels to the AV node, and similarly these pulses will travels to both the atriums, and from here, from the atrioventricle node, the pulses will travels to the ventricles. Because of those electrical pulses only, the chambers, that is heart chambers, it may be ventricles or atriums, will be contracts and releases, expand and shrinks. So due to that vibrations of the heart, due to the excitation pulses, the heart will be beats, and due to that the blood will be pumps outside. Due to that contracts only, the heart will be works, and due to that the blood will be pumps outside. Okay, and this white color represents the electrical pulses. How these electrical pulses will travels, it indicates. Okay, so from the atrioventricle node, the white, the electrical pulses will be travels through. Here we have a some already in the previous diagram we have seen, that is a bundle of his. So it is also a fibers. Okay, fiber cells. So from there, the that is distributed towards to the two ventricles, and those from those two bundle branches, left bundle branch, this yellow one is bundle branch, and this one is the right bundle branch. Yellow color is there, no? So this is the right bundle branch, and this is left bundle branch. From these bundle branches, the electrical signals will be travels to the left ventricle and right ventricle, and these pulses will be goes to the ventricle through Purkinje fibers, a small, it's like a fiber cells. Okay, these are connected to cells. Okay, and those are connected to the ventricles, and due to that, these electrical pulses will connected to ventricles, and there the ventricles will be contracts, and due to that contraction, it will opens the valves, and due to that, aorta valve and semilunar valves. At downside of these ventricles, we have two valves. On the right side, we have semilunar valve, and left side we have aortic valve. These two valves will be opens, and from there, the blood will be pumps to remaining parts of the body from left side of the ventricle, and from the right side of the ventricle, the blood will be pumped to the lungs of the body. Okay, so like this, the blood circulation will be takes place due to electrical conduction system. Okay, so generally this heart rate of the heart rate is controlled by SA node. How the heart rate is controlled means this SA node, because of the SA node initiates the impulses. That's why the heart rate will be controlled by SA node. SA node impulses. The impulses generated from the SA node. Okay, the SA node generates stimulus So these excitations we can call it as a stimulus. So what is stimulus means? Stimulus is like a voltage. You can say it is a voltage or a electrical signal, sudden impulse like that, or excitation source. You can say it is an excitation source. Okay, stimulus, sudden change. Okay, so that stimulus SA node generates stimulus to 60 to 100 times per minute. So it will generate the impulses. SA node generates the impulses at 60 to 100 times per minute for a normal human being. For a normal human being. Okay. So like this we have, and this generation of the heart rates, the generation of heart pulses will be recorded as a ECG, electrocardiogram. These generated pulses will be recorded. The what are different types of electrical impulses are generated. Those impulses from different places we can record. So that record of the electrical pulses of the heart will be called as ECG, electrocardiogram. The instrument. See here, in the first class I was told that so different. So now I am saying that the graph or the waveform we call it is as a electrocardiogram. The instrument which is used to measure this heart rate is called as electrocardiograph. So the instruments are nothing but graphs. The output which is obtained from the source, or we are recorded, or we get the waveform, or we can obtain the as a physical recording, and those waveforms are called as electrocardiogram. Those are called as gram. The instrument is called as graph. So we can call that is electrocardiograph, electrocardiogram. Electrocardiogram is nothing but the recording data or waveform is called as electrocardiogram. The instrument which is used to record this information, record the information of heart or some other part, we can call it as a cardiograph. Electrocardiograph is nothing but the instrument. Electrocardiogram is nothing but the waveform. Similarly, electrical encephalogram. Electrical encephalogram, EEG. EEG is nothing but the waveform which is recorded from the brain of the human body is nothing but electroencephalogram, and the instrument used for that recording of electroencephalogram is called as electroencephalograph. Okay, like this, graph indicates the machine or instrument, and gram indicates it is its output. You can say it is output or recorder output. So waveform is the cardiogram. Please remember this difference. Okay. Uh, so the heart rate, already we are seeing in the heart rate. So that is systole and diastole. So systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. So for systolic pressure, so we will get a sound when the ventricle chambers are pumps the blood to the parts of the body. See here, both the atrias, right atrium and left atrium, both will be open their walls at the same time. And similarly, left ventricle and right ventricle both will open at the same time. So at that moment, when the valves, at the ventricles are open, that is aortic valve and semilunar valves are open, the blood will be pumped outside. So at that moment, we will get a sound, heart sound. So that heart sound will be called as a heartbeat. All of you know that is lub dub lub dub. Okay, so that heartbeat will be observed by using stethoscope. We can observe the heartbeat sound using stethoscope. Okay, so here the situation is both the heart ventricles will be opens the heart, valves, and at the same time these atrias, both atriums will be relaxed. Like that, there is a diastolic pressure and systolic pressure. Okay, so when the systolic pressure is there, it means the pumping of the blood is to the different parts. We have high pressure. So that is maximum pressure. So that maximum pressure is on an average it is 120. So here pressure in value is mm of Hg, mm of mercury. Okay, 120 mm of Hg pressure. And when the atriums are relaxed, we can say it is a diastolic pressure. So at that moment, the pressure is very low. The pressure of the blood is very low. So blood is very low at out of these ventricles. So at that moment, the pressure is very low. That is, we can say around 80 mm of Hg. So maximum pressure is 120, and on an average, it is average. Okay, maybe it changes depending upon the situation. Suppose when you are walking, so the heartbeat will be increases. So that is maximum 140 mm of Hg. For higher value, range is 95 to 140. So it will changes. It will not a fixed value. So it changes. So somebody is saying that my heartbeat is uh, very high, not 120, it is 130. So you don't bother about that one. Okay. So on an average, it is 120 only. So it may be high pressure, maybe 95 to 140. 95 to 140 it may be. Okay. So if somebody saying that my BP is exceeding 120 mm of Hg, high pressure, I got the BP, high BP like that, so you don't bother about that one. So the heart will be having a high BP range or systolic pressure range from 95 to 140 mm of Hg. And below the 95, it is also again a danger situation. Then we can say that you have some problem like that. Okay. And similarly for diastolic pressure, we have 60 to 90. Diastolic pressure means minimum pressure. So higher pressure and minimum pressure we have. So that minimum pressure will represents the low BP. If the BP lower pressure is around 80 mm of Hg, 80 mm of Hg. If the BP is 60 to 90, then it is no problem. If below the 60, then it gives a danger situation. So like that, these numbers will represents the high BP and low BP. If some person was not take will take the salt, that salt will be raises the BP. If some persons does not take any, they takes less salt, that also causes low BP. So here the sodium chloride will, I think you are studied in first unit, generates the action potentials. So how the cells will be transfers the energy. Okay, so from the inner cell to outer cell. Okay, So with that we have the action potentials. According to that, by the blood also consumes the this sodium chloride, and due to that the BP, that is blood pressure will be changes. If the consumption of the uh, solid this sodium chlorides, if it decreases, it may leads to the low BP. With the more consumption, high BP. When the high BP is occurred, already you know that how the people are shaking. And for the low BP, he will be fall down immediately where he stands. So uh, both situations are very dangerous. Okay, so our heart should be maintained with the proper heartbeat. So for that purpose, we have to take good food, okay, and with the proper rate. So too much of taking the salts is dangerous. Not taking the salt is also dangerous. Okay, these are some of the points while we are considering the blood circulation. And generally the beat rates of the baby is very high. Small babies will be high. And similarly, when you are having a jogging and running in such situation also, the beat rates is or heart rate is very high. And these why that beat rate is making very high? Because there are some nerves will be there. Vagus nerve. See, this is vagus nerve. So cardio inhibitor nerve and cardio accelerator nerve. So these nerves will be gives the excitation when you are walking or if you are running like that. So there will be also gives some signals. Okay, because of that we are getting more anxieties, and those nerves will be also causes the excitation of the cyanoatrial nodes. These nerves also provides the excitation. Okay, so these are the main points we will cover. So any clarifications or any doubts you can write and share. So Akhil, you are getting any problem here? Sound
No, sir.
audio? Okay, initially you are okay. You are very, okay, right.
Okay, sir.
So so because of this electrical conduction system only, there is a contraction of the muscles of the heart chambers, and due to that, the blood circulates through the entire body. Okay. If any clarifications, you can ask. In the next class, we will see the electrocardiography. How we can, so what is that one? We can call it as ECG. Already we are studying ECG, electrocardiogram. So what is that electrocardiogram? So it is like a waveform. So we can represent like it as a PQRST. PQRST. So it is a waveform. Electrocardiogram is a waveform. So it represents, or we can see the PQRST. So PQRST are the names are given. So different amplitudes of the waveforms. So we can call them as a P wave, R wave, Q wave, and T wave. And these are having certain magnitudes and having certain period. So whenever the Sinus node will send to signal to AV node does not provide immediately to the other ventricles. So there is some delay will be there. There is some delay between. There is a delay between the generation of the excitation from the AV node. Okay, so that delay will causes some time delay, and in between the signals will be transfers from the SA node to AV node. Okay. And that by considering the ECG waveform, we can analyze what is the amplitude and time period, and from that we can say the condition of the heart, how the heart rate is, how the heart is beating. So if there is some variations in between the time period of the occurring of these